Think about the modern executive, surrounded by infinite data, highly educated, backed by massive research budgets. Yet corporate history is littered with disastrous product launches and botched mergers. If they have all the right information, why make such wildly flawed decisions? For decades, economics operated on a specific assumption called rational choice theory. The idea was that human beings are natural optimizers. When faced with a problem, we automatically gather every possible piece of information, evaluate all potential consequences, and perfectly rank our options. Under this model, the so-called economic man operates like a human algorithm. He sifts through variables, completely immune to stress or emotional bias, and reliably selects the mathematical optimum. There is a slight problem with this perfect, optimizing human. He doesn't exist. Real people get tired, they get overwhelmed, and they panic. Building an economic model around a perfectly logical human yields a theory that fails when applied to the messy reality of business. In the mid-20th century, a theorist named Herbert Simon pointed out this exact blind spot. He introduced a concept called bounded rationality. Simon proved that human cognitive limitations, our restricted working memory and short attention spans, make processing infinite data biologically impossible. This paper from Eisenhardt shows the reality of Simon's theory. Researchers found human goals can be inconsistent, and search is restricted to immediate surroundings. Overwhelmed employees don't invent new solutions. Instead, standard operating procedures guide much of organizational behavior. We fall back on familiar protocols. This plays out even under extreme pressure. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, military protocols often overrode pure logical calculation, as officials relied on pre-written manuals rather than inventing new strategies on the fly. Other researchers developed models showing that corporate choices often emerge from internal turf wars or random chance. In these frameworks, a decision isn't a carefully weighed choice. It's a byproduct of who has the most power in the room at that exact moment. This leaves us with a massive contradiction. If our psychology is bounded by biological limits and our organizations are inherently chaotic, how do complex corporations manage to operate with any consistency? Why do they so often look rational? Organization scholars Laure Cabintas and Jean-Pascal Gond looked at this contradiction and offered a fascinating answer. They proposed that rationality isn't an innate biological trait. Instead, it is a performative praxis, a theory that humans actively rehearse and act out until it becomes social reality. This diagram illustrates three mechanisms organizations use to manufacture rationality. It starts with conventionalization. Look at modern business schools. They embed the theory of the logical manager into thousands of MBA students. By graduation, searching for optimums becomes an inescapable norm. By treating the myth of the rational manager as a cultural standard, organizations create an environment where everyone is pressured to perform logic, even if they don't naturally possess the cognitive capacity to do it perfectly. But culture alone cannot overcome a hard limit on working memory. That brings us to the second pillar, engineering. Humans build literal prostheses for their minds to overcome biological bounds. Frameworks like decision trees and SWOT analyses and quantitative risk software function as external structures designed to force our bounded, chaotic brains to calculate outcomes optimally, which leads directly into the third mechanism, commodification. Someone has to build and distribute these cognitive tools. Academic theories are extracted from universities and packaged into commercial products. The multi-billion-dollar management consulting industry acts as a massive distribution network for this process, selling these rational frameworks back to overwhelmed corporate executives who are desperate to make sense of their markets. In the modern corporation, rationality has evolved into a highly profitable, engineered sociotechnical industry. This comparison chart breaks down the gap between our internal biology and our external architecture. On the left side, we have our innate bounds, our restricted memory, and our reliance on shortcuts. But on the right side, we see the sociotechnical reality, the engineered tools we build to override those exact flaws. This framework scales remarkably into the digital era. Algorithmic trading and artificial intelligence act as the ultimate rationality carriers, processing data oceans that our bounded minds could never hold at once. Sociologist Michel Calon summarized this dynamic perfectly. He realized that the mythical economic man does exist, but only because he is artificially formatted and equipped with external prostheses that do the heavy calculating for him. Organizations do not make great choices because human beings are naturally logical. They succeed because they build systems to override human flaws. Our individual minds might be permanently bounded, but the socio-technical systems we build do not have to be.